Thank you, Len. And indeed, it is a pleasure to come here this afternoon. A couple of years since you kicked this off, whatever that time frame was. And I've kept in touch with Len and attended some other activities and events that they've held as this concept is taking hold in the Rapid City and Black Hills community. Sometimes people are a little confused about opportunity. They see nothing but competition. And in home building, residential construction, that's certainly the case. Whether you're talking houses, apartments, condominiums, whatever, there are lots of people and lots of opportunities for folks to find some kind of a place to live if that's what they're seeking. But many times, people don't know what the opportunity is that exists, not just for the buyers, but for builders and other potential folks who can benefit from this technology. Reminds me of a story of a fellow who ran a very successful hardware store business. One of those hardwares, kind of like Ace Hardware or something like that, where they have just everything. And he was very successful, did a great job, and had lots and lots of customers. But one day he came to work, and in the storefront right next to him was another store, almost identical in terms of their inventory to his, opening up right next door. And not only that, they had a big sign up over their entrance door that said, lowest prices. And he thought, my word, this could be the end of my business here. He thought, well, I can probably withstand it, but I'll have to watch very closely. And then, lo and behold, and a couple of weeks later, he comes to work, and on the other side of him, somebody else has opened up. Another store, very similar inventory again, and their sign out front said, best selection. So he's thinking, boy, I'm really being squeezed here by this competition. Lowest prices, this sign says. Best selection, this sign says. What am I going to do to make sure my business survives? How can I sustain my business? He thought about it and came up with a solution. And the next Monday morning, everybody came to work, and right next to lowest prices, best selection, he had a gigantic sign over his front door that said, enter here. There is always an opportunity. If you hit on something that is successful, someone else is bound to try to duplicate it or copy it in some way. The advantage the leader has, the innovator, the person or the company that started it, is that they have done all the preliminary work and they know some of the potential pitfalls, and so they have worked through those issues so they don't have to, either as a buyer or as a builder, you don't have to endure those same challenges. The leader in any business, whether it's automobiles, clothing, food, whatever it might be, whoever is the leader, whoever is generally the first person, the first company to build something successfully, will always be the leader unless they let someone else take over. There's a concept, Len is well familiar in the marketing and advertising business, called positioning, where you try to position your company, your product, in people's minds as the best of whatever you're selling. And they call it the ladders in your mind. So you think about each business as being a ladder leaned up against the house. You're the first guy on the ladder. You climb up. You're Coca-Cola, for example. You start up the ladder. For Pepsi to be able to catch you is one thing, But just like on a ladder, for them to pass you, they can't go around you on the ladder. You have to fall off the ladder or intentionally climb down for them to take over. Good example of that is in the automobile manufacturing business. General Motors, for years, was the biggest car manufacturing plant in the world. They built huge numbers of cars, sold them all over the world, and were hugely successful. But they, in effect, fell off the ladder and let Toyota surpass them. Toyota is now the biggest car manufacturer in the world. Biggest doesn't necessarily equate to profitability, but in this case it did. You saw what happened to General Motors and the other domestic car manufacturers a few years ago. When the market squeezed, they felt the crunch and nearly went out of business. In fact, both Chrysler and General Motors went through bankruptcy. Ford nearly did. If they hadn't had a lot of cash in the bank to spend, they would have too. So that ladder in your mind is very, very important. Now, that doesn't mean somebody can't put up a ladder next to yours. Think about the pizza business. Pizza Hut came along years ago and became the number one pizza manufacturer and pizza house kind of place in the country. There were Pizza Huts everywhere. Then Domino's came along. Tom Monahan with Domino's said, we're going to sell the same thing, except we're going to bring it to your house. You don't have to come to our place. We'll bring it to you. And they started delivery. Then Little Caesars came along and said, you don't get one pizza with us. You get pizza. You get two pizzas when you buy one. Today, Pizza Hut is struggling because Little Caesars not only had that pizza concept, when that was no longer effective, they completely reinvented their company and now sell $5 pizzas. You used to pay $20 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can the Little Caesars sell them for $5? Analysts say they've got about $1.75 in each pizza, so they're still making a profit. And they do it on volume. Stand by the door at any Little Caesars on a Friday or Saturday night. There got to be 100 people an hour going in and buying a pizza. So what they did was put up a new ladder in people's minds next to Pizza Hut. They didn't try to copy Pizza Hut. They started their own. And you can think about that in lots of different business applications. What the smart homes technology is doing is, in effect, setting up another ladder in people's minds. Home builders, not surprisingly, the construction people, are in that business to make money. Nothing wrong with that. But by its very nature, the more expensive home they build, the more money they make. So rather than building a $150,000 house, they'd rather build a $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 and so on, because they can make more money. That's fine. But that leaves a whole echelon of potential buyers wanting. Yeah, you can go buy a mobile home or a modular home or something like that, but they're not on the same, perceptually, not on the same level of quality as a stick-built home. So there's been this area unserved or underserved. So here comes the smart homes concept. And you can see all the different elements of smart construction, from the homes themselves to the way they're built and what you can do with the home after it's built if you want to live in it or you want to lease it or however you want to operate. But the concept of smart homes makes eminent sense when you think about it. And that's the only challenge there is just to get the concept out to people. This isn't cheap housing. This is inexpensive housing or less expensive housing. It's quality housing done on a smaller scale and with some elements such as shared land and shared amenities, guest homes, open space, garden areas, and so on, you can get the cost of the home down well under $100,000. It's very affordable for lots of people. People who want to downsize, they're in the retirement age and they don't want to have a big home. They may travel south in the winter. Maybe they have a smart home in Arizona or Texas or wherever they go, and another one here. They move back and forth. It's also smart for families that want a newer home but can't afford one of a two, three, four, $500,000 home. It's smart in lots of ways, and it's smart in the sense that it utilizes new technology. Len touched on the door opening mechanism, the locking mechanism. That could be used on any kind of house, of course. But if it's incorporated into the smart home, along with all the other elements that many of you are familiar with, you get something that has the wow effect. People come to a showcase like this, or somehow they hear about a smart home and they say, wow, look at that. I can have a quality home, all the amenities I want. I don't have to spend $1 zillion on it. And it makes good sense, especially if I travel, because someone else will be helping, but I don't have all the hassles of the typical condominium arrangement. This is a newer way. So I congratulate the people who are in on the ground floor of this and those who are continuing to work on it. Dick, for example, and Len and others that were mentioned earlier who've been a part of this from the very beginning, because they're seeing the opportunity. You may have picked up some literature or heard about some of the ideas that the Smart Building Council has of building a manufacturing plant and having it here in Rapid City, or it could be in a number of places, could even move from place to place periodically if the demand was such, where they can build this same kind of smart home. For example, in the oil boom area up in North Dakota and elsewhere, even down into South Dakota, where housing is in short supply, they need something that can be put together relatively quickly, easy for people to purchase or to rent if somebody else purchases it, and more importantly, is smart in many aspects. Smart in terms of energy usage, smart in terms of impact on the environment, smart in terms of your investment in the property. This is a very exciting concept, and to have it occurring here in Rapid City, we are the epicenter of the smart home technology for the entire United States. This is happening here. You saw in the video concept of getting some college students involved, both perhaps as interns, but more importantly as potential innovators, because there are always new ideas, exciting concepts coming forward. And if you put some of the smart people, for example, from the School of Mines, some of those engineering students and faculty and graduates, to work on projects such as this, they can come up with even more innovations. You know, when Stephen Jobs, the inventor of all the Apple products, the iPhone, the iPad, and all of that, when he died and there were all the acclamations of his life, one that stood out in my mind was Stephen Jobs invented things that people didn't even realize they needed or wanted. And when you think about that, that's true. The little iPods that he first came out with, then the iPhone, the iPad, and so forth. People didn't even know that they wanted such a thing until he came up with it. It's kind of the same with the smart homes technology. One basic tenet, of course, is everybody needs a place to live. They have lots of options, but for many people, those options have been limited by the current marketplace. This smart homes idea opens up a whole new realm of possibilities, a whole new realm of opportunity for builders, contractors, suppliers, for innovators, and of course for the eventual occupants and purchasers. So I think this seminar and workshop this afternoon with some of the different people who are here. You can just take a look around and see what is being talked about. Generally, when you go to a home show type arrangement such as this, you don't expect to see electronics companies like Ensignal and the tech people over here have a booth. They're not necessarily just selling computers or phones. They're selling the technology that is a part of this new concept. It's exciting. It's an opportunity that exists because of smart people here in the Rapid City and Black Hills area who have not just talked about this idea, but are putting it into action. I'll close with another story about opportunity. Opportunity comes when you can see the opportunity. It doesn't necessarily come up and knock on your door, as the old adage says. Sometimes you have to realize the opportunity that is standing before you. It was a well-known shoe manufacturing company looking for new markets. And they had their products being sold, their shoes being sold just about everywhere in the world, except one place, and that was the outback of Australia. So the company decided to send a couple of salesmen to the outback among the Aboriginal people there and see if there was a market for their shoes. So these two guys go independent of one another. After a month or so, they each reported back to the company. The first guy said, "Waste of time. I don't know what I'm doing here. There is no market for shoes here. These people don't even wear shoes. They walk around in the sand barefoot." The second guy sent his report back in, and he said, "Wow, thank you for sending me here. What a great opportunity there is. These people are walking around in the sand barefoot. Nobody wears shoes. We can sell them to everybody." So it all depends on how you look at things. Opportunity comes in many forms. For those of you here who are suppliers, contractors, builders, this is a great opportunity. For those who are here as a potential purchaser or investor, this is a great opportunity. And it's happening right here, right now. So be smart, be a part of the smart homes technology, and participate here this afternoon. Learn more if you're new to the concept. This is an opportunity because this, my friends, is the future. Thank you for being here.